Hello and welcome to the Transformation Manager blog. Today we'll be looking at creating lookups, so let's begin. As we can see from last time, we'd started to create a few transforms and build up the structure. So we had our airplane, engine, turbine, bolts, turbine cost, all created and all populating our target database. Now if we have a look at the cost in a little bit more detail, on our last transform we moved the cost across to our cost on the turbine cost table and the target, but we hadn't done anything about the currency. So how can we go about setting the currency? Well, if we have a look at our flat files that came in, we can see that for the currency we have some values. In this case we have USD in there twice, GBP, and we also have UKP. Now it may be that we want to standardize those currencies so that they all match up, and in this case the outstanding one for us is the UKP that we need to standardize. So what we may want to do is check these values against standards table in our target database. So again, we can connect up to the target database and we can have a look what's in our standards table. And we can see we just have one simple value in there that says if the original value is UKP, then the standard value we want to set it to is GBP. So what we can do is actually create a lookup to go and check this for us at runtime. And how we do this is we right click on the project, we select new lookup, we give the lookup a name. So in this case we'll call it get standard. You can see we could take it from an external database if we wanted, but in this case we have it in our target model, so we'll get it from there. We hit next. The table we want to use is the standards table, and we want to use the standard value. Return will be a string, and the column we want to use is the original value that we're going to pass into it. So we can simply click add to set that, hit next. We could build a cache of them if we wanted to, but as we only have a small amount of data, there's no need in this case, and hit finish. So now we have that lookup ready to use. And again, if I do get and then control space, we can see we have get standard. We're going to pass in the original value, which in this case is going to be our currency coming in from the source. So now we're calling that, but what do we want to do with it? Well, it's dependent on what comes back. So if anything comes back from that database, as there's only one value in there. So what we can do is, again, we could create a local variable. We could call it standard value, which would be a string. And we could use a standard value then to receive whatever we get from our get standard. So it may be getting a value back and it may not be. And depending on this, if it gets a value back, then we want to use that value. If it doesn't, then we want to continue to use the value we've got in currency because we believe that will be correct. So again, we can add coding pattern in. So control space to give us that list. And then we push in the if. And in this case, what we want to do is if exists. And again, I can just use control space. So if exists the standard value, then we need to do something. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to set our currency to be our standard value because our standard value exists. Else, all we're going to do is set our currency to be equal to the currency that we're passing in. And pretty much that's it. So that shows you how the lookup can be used. Again, if the lookup was returning values for all combinations, then maybe we could set it directly to the currency. But as we want some logic here to say If the value does exist, then we set the standard value. Otherwise, we just use the one from the source, because our standards that we're looking at do not have a great deal of data in them. So in this case, if we just move that down a little bit, we can see that all we have is that one row. So in the event of any other rows coming through, we're not actually going to have data. Okay, so once we're happy with that, again, we can right click, we can build it, can right click, launch the migrator. We can hit run. You can see the information's been written. And again, we can start to have a look on the target at our turbine costs. We can view the data. And now you can see that we have USD, GBP, and GBP. So as it was going through, it's actually looked at the logic, it's pulled our standard value back for our UKP, and it's set it accordingly. So they existed in that case, and we've set the currency to be the GBP value and not UKP. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.